This is part 11 in this YouTube series where I am writing the pseudo 3D racing game. In the last episode, I added the ability to steer left and right, and added a vehicle sprite. The focus of this episode will be adding an object to the road, such as a billboard. I will also do a large refactor of the pseudo 3D projection code. This is just one approach, but it seems to work well, and is fairly reusable, which I like. I spent a good chunk of time thinking about the camera and the player, and how they should interact with the road and the objects in the world. I decided that the camera should be the player, and then I would just draw a sprite on the screen to represent the player. Even if that sprite is not actually in the correct 3D space, it still looks like it is driving down the road and passing objects. I may regret this decision later, but for now, it works well. I first want to modify the camera so it has a Z position in the in-game world. As I learned from my projection code, I also need a focal length and camera depth. I need to update my player to use this new camera and then update player.x, y, or z to use player.camera.x, y, or z. I also need to change this in my projection code, and after doing that, the game still runs the same. Now I am going to move this function into the pseudo package, and make it public so other packages can use it. Next, I am going to adjust the arguments to the function. I am actually adding a lot more arguments than I usually prefer, but it has been working quite well in places I have used it so far. So at the risk of additional cognitive complexity, I am going to keep it this way for now. For this projection code to work, I need both the object's position and the camera positions, the camera depth, and the camera focal length. I also need the horizon Y coordinate, the farthest Z coordinate that should be visible, and the width of the screen. It is still going to return the screen X and Y coordinates, and the scale as it already was. Now, I am going to break each part into their own functions. I need a function to calculate effective Z, which is the distance from the camera to the object in the world. Next, I need to calculate the scale, which uses effective Z and the camera depth. The minimum scale is a small value, which is the smallest I want to draw an object on the screen, when it is very far away. This base Y calculation is not being used yet, since there is just a flat road, but I will need it later as the game's road changes. Now, screen X and screen Y just need a few small adjustments, and then I can return the values. Now I need to go update my drawRoad method to use this new projection code. I call it twice here, and I need to pass in quite a few arguments, so I am separating them into multiple lines. I am using all the same values here. First is the X, Y, and Z position of the road segment, then the player's camera X, Y, and Z position, followed by the depth and focal length. I also need to pass in the horizon Y coordinate, the farthest Z coordinate, and the width of the screen. I had considered just passing in entire objects to this function, but I wanted to see if I could keep it more portable, and it also helps me slow down when filling it out to ensure I am passing in the correct values. I pass in almost all the same values to the second call, but the Z position of the segments also has the segment length added to it. That was a lot of changes, and if I did it right, the game should still run the same without any visual changes. I want to see if I can use this revamped projection code to draw a billboard on the road. I am going to create a new assets folder for billboards. I can see it being fun to have a bunch of different billboard images here and display them randomly as the player is driving. These could also be collectibles the user could get by smashing through them with their car. For now, I am just going to use an existing Ebitengine example image of some gophers. Next, I will add a slice of billboards to my scene and create just one for now. I will set it slightly off to the right of the road, and raised above the ground to see if the projection code is working correctly. Next, I will add a drawObjects method, since there will eventually be things other than billboards. For now, I am defining a minimum and maximum scale just in this function. Then, I loop through each billboard and draw it. I calculate the effective Z, which I tried calling distance to Z, which is inconsistent with other functions, but sometimes I try out different variable naming to see if it fits better. I get the bounds of the image for drawing, and then I run everything through the projection formula. I only need one call to it here since this is just one image, not a top and bottom like I needed with the road segments. Finally, I scale and translate and then draw the image to the screen. You can see the billboard starts out small as it is farther away, and as I drive closer, the billboard appears to come towards me and gets bigger. As the game progresses, we can draw more of these as well as things like trees, rocks, or cheering fans. In the next episode, I will show a simple collision detection for this billboard object.